Piacezna, I'm going to do on Shabbos also.
Okay.
Yeah, no, of course. Sure. L'chaim, 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 t'hoy me'emul l'shon. Amen. Good.
I'm good.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Do you have an Israel thing?
No, it's good. It's good. Maybe. All right, so say good Erev Shabbos to everyone. Steve, who are our sponsors for tonight?
Thank you to Shimon Haridim for sponsoring me and Yishmael's father, Yosef and Shalom, his Neshama Shem Aliyah.
Amen.
And for Shalema for his wife's grandfather, Eliezer ben Sarah Khatun. And thank you to Matt and Rena Walters for co-sponsoring Leela Nishma, Esther Bas, Daniel Ephraim, Alva Shalom White with Yomi Baron, and for Shlema for Eliana, Malka Bas with
Amen. All right, there was a tremendous chus Baruch Hashem to be here with everyone. There's plenty of sheets. It's double-sided, just one double-sided sheet. Plenty. So we have the incredible schus tonight to continue Meretz Hashem in the Helical words of the Piacezna. So we're continuing Meretz Hashem in Tzav v'Zera. So we find ourselves in section Tes Zayin. So part of the beauty of this sefer is there is, again, as we go through it, we begin to see that there's definitely a theme. There's definitely a thematic thread that runs through everything. But part of the beauty of the sefer is also each section is its own independent entity. So Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe teaches us so many, on one hand, linked lessons, but yet independent lessons. So we dedicate, of course, our learning. First of all, a tremendous yeshkach to all of our sponsors. A tremendous thank you to Reb Steve, our Shir Gabbai, for always just the hachanas for the shir. Steve starts the hachanas for the shir before I start the hachanas for the shir. My hachanas for the shir begin on Thursday afternoon. Steve's hachanas already, I think, begin Tuesday morning. That's the time already when the hachanas begin. And Baruch Hashem, and is Tzvi do the food?
He's heading out tonight, but he did cook all the food.
Okay, Shkach to Tzvi Friedman, who Baruch Hashem took care of always takes care of all the food. Really. This is like a soul food spread here tonight, Baruch Hashem, which is really, all right, it's really nice. All right, so with that, let's begin. So we are picking up in section Tes Zayin. See here, the Rebbe says something very interesting. I think one of the things that's been a little bit, I don't want to use the word jarring, but interesting about Tzav v'Zeros is normally the Piacezna, follows in what is the typical derech of the Baal Shem Tov, which is that everything is about gadlus ha'adam. Everything is about lifting up man, building up man. And there's really a much greater focus on growth through positivity than growth through negativity. What do I mean by this? So like, for example, in the stream of Nervadik, which was epicenter of Jewish thought. So again, Nervadik focused on shiflus ha'adam, lowliness of man. Like you're nothing, and nothing in a good way. In other words, you're nothing, but build yourself into something. And the thought was that if a person constantly reminds himself of his lowliness, then ultimately that'll be the catalyst to build up his inner godliness. So that's one approach. There's another approach called gadlus ha'adam, and in gadlus ha'adam, you don't tell people how terrible they are. You don't tell people how low they are. You see just the opposite. You remind people how great they are. And what happens generally when people are covering, you ever get a compliment from someone really giving you like shevach and praise, and what's going through your mind as you're getting that praise? What's going through your mind? I'm right. They don't know me, right? They it's very nice. It's very nice. They see one part of me. They don't really know the whole me. If they knew who I really was, if they knew what I really did, I wouldn't be deserving of it. But it's interesting because sometimes then what that praise does is, but Ploni thinks of me in this way. So if someone else thinks of me as such an important person, such an Adam Gadol, then the truth is there must be greatness inside of me. I should live up to this. We'll say, so the truth is this was the derech of Aaron HaKohen. right? When Aaron would go ahead, and the Gemara says when Aaron would see someone sinning, so what would he do? He wouldn't go over, right, to give like a patch, to give a zet, to give a musr, any of that. Not verbal or physical. But rather, what he would do is he'd go over to the person and say, I've been watching you, and you're a really special guy, and you're really incredible, and you really have so much potential, and you're really so special, and what would happen? Aaron would leave. The guy would be like, "Ay vavay, this is what Aaron Cohen thinks of me. He doesn't know the real me, but I better build myself up to live up to that reputation."
Doesn't it go back to what the Rav said before about just because I see myself one way doesn't mean others see myself?
100%. Very true. Very true. There is always this dichotomy between the way like we see ourselves and the way the world sees us. Because the truth is, the world never sees the whole me. Right? The world only sees parts of me. I'm the only one who sees the whole me. So I'm just pointing this out because in general, the Piacezna, of course, adopts the approach of Gadlus Ha'adam, greatness of man. But it's interesting in Tzav Zeros, because this is a much more personal work. You see, almost like, because the Piacezna Kiviyachol is like talking to himself. So there's, I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to use the word harshness. I'll use the word, there's a toughness. Directness. I'll say, sometimes you have to beat yourself up a little bit. Right? We shouldn't beat each other up. Right? That's clear. Right? When it comes to the way we deal with each other, it should be with love. But sometimes when it's just you and yourself, you have to beat yourself up a little bit. And there's this fine line. I shouldn't beat myself up over things that I can't change, over things that I can't do anything about. But Lamaisa, there are so many things that I can change, so many things that I can fix, and those are the areas I should beat myself up a little bit. So you see almost the Piacezna does that in Tzav Zeros a little bit. There's a little bit of like a personal beating, almost like a toughness. What was it? What was it about there? A directness, when you're having a conversation, when you're having a conversation of just you and yourself, so it's got to be real. Right? With the rest of the world, often we deal with platitudes and hyperbole and all these. When it comes to myself, I'm just having a real conversation. Tzav Zeros is the real conversation between the Piacezna and the Piacezna. So take a look at Tezan. I will say this is a really incredible piece. I found this very jarring. He says, so I'll say, we just had this in today's daf. Oh, is that right? What did the Gemara say? Hainu Satan, Hainu Malach Hamabes, Hainu Yetzirah. Right? They're all the same thing. So the Piacezna says, how do you relate to your Yetzirah? So the Piacezna says, often what we try to do with the Yetzirah is like distance ourselves. Piacezna says it's not enough to distance yourself. Rather, Gam Tisna'ehu. You have to despise the Yetzirah. You have to despise it. I will say, think about this for just a moment. You have to hate. You have to despise your Yetzirah. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean? So I will say, this. I think the Piacezna is highlighting something incredibly. Thank you so much. Thank you. About the catalyst for growth.
The Yetzirah and our best friend.
Our best. Good. Hold on for a second. Hold on. Good. We're gonna tie it all together. We're gonna tie it all together. I always wonder if people pay attention when I'm on the screen and not there in person. All right. Good. Baruch Hashem.
I only caught that on the re-listen.
I'm sorry.
When I reviewed it, I caught that. But
it's an incredible.
I thought you were saying something different before that.
Yeah. What did you think I was saying?
That they were. I'm trying to remember what.
Good. I'm gonna come back to this piece anyway. Good. I'm gonna come back to this in just a second. So we'll say. So now, listen to this saying. Piacezna says the key to life, right? The key ultimately, again, one of the keys to successful living. One of the keys to successful living, ultimately, again, is a recognition of the line between right and wrong. What's one of the greatest contemporary challenges? I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday. I was just in Toronto. I was in Toronto just for literally 12 hours, and I was talking with one of the people who I was spending time with over there, and they've had a tremendous surge of anti-Semitism. So like in one of the major shuls in Toronto, the Bayit, they had like one of these Israel expos, and they had like a massive like pro-Palestinian rally, and kind of like you look around the world, and I think one of the things that's been so shocking to us is this incredible surge in anti-Semitism. Like, what is it? What is it, right? They just fired 3 deans at Columbia University. They should fire everyone at Columbia University. The truth is they should just actually shutter it because it doesn't even deserve to exist. But that's a different discussion, right? But Lamaisa, like, what is this? Like, what is this? And especially, by the way, when you drill down to it, you realize that, right, it really feels like about 90% of it is ignorance. It's ignorance. It's not like principled people, right, who are pro-Palestinian or principled people. It's ignorance, right? Everybody sees these interviews from the river to the sea, and they ask me, which river, which sea? I think probably it's the Hudson to the Potomac. I don't know, like what? So what is it? What is it? So as I said, again, this is just one man's opinion. I happen to think that everything was... So some of it is just basic hatred and anti-Semitism. Klal hu Esav Sonius Yaakov. That's it. People hate Jews. That's important for us to accept, and it's a difficult pill to swallow, but we have to. I will say, but so much of it is because, I really think, because of woke culture. What did woke culture do? What did woke culture do? Woke culture said, there's no right and wrong. Whatever you feel, that's right. That's right. However you identify, that's right. It's not rooted in reality. It's not true. It's not true. But no. We've done away with right and wrong and true and false. There's no more objective morality, no more objective reality. Everything is subjective. So once you do that, once you remove that, there's no more objective right and wrong. There's no more objective tamei tar, nothing. So then everything just simply ebbs away. Everything ebbs away. So therefore, again, you'll go ahead and you'll root for the side that you feel maybe tugs on your heartstrings a little bit more without knowing any of the facts, without understanding the geopolitical realities, and without even paying attention to the actual facts on the ground. The Piacezna says life is about going ahead and knowing what's right and what's wrong. And the stuff that's right, hold on to it with both hands. And the stuff that's wrong, push it away as far as you can. Repudiate it. Name it. Despise it. Because if you don't, right? If you don't repudiate it and despise it, then it's just going to keep coming back to suck you back in, to pull you back in. And I will say, it's hard. It's hard because this is totally counter-cultural, right? You cannot go ahead. In today's day and age, you can't tell someone that they're wrong, right? No one's wrong. Everyone's right. They just have different versions of truth. There's not different versions of truth. So the Piacezna says over here, how do you deal with the Yetzer Hara? Hate it. I hate the fact that there is a piece inside of me that is so corrupted. I despise it. Now, we're going to see, I despise it, but it's also my best friend. We'll get to that in just a moment. Right, a little bit of like a love-hate relationship over here. But Lamaisa, what it's saying is, name the demon. I don't know. So you know what happens? It's like, what's the paradigmatic example of this? Paradigmatic example is Shmiras Hayinayim, right? Looking at inappropriate things. So by the way, this is not, people think like the issue of Shmiras Hayinayim is like a new dynamic since Al Gore invented the internet, right? It's not true. Right, Shmiras Hayinayim, being careful with what you see, is as old as man itself. It's a pasuk in the Torah. V'lo sasuru, right? Right? The Torah says what's going to happen. The eyes are going to see, right? The eyes are going to see. The heart is going to want, and the body's going to do. So I will say. So at the end of the day, and what ends up happening? So I hate the fact that like, for some reason, I'm just using this as an example, like, why can't I control myself? Why can't I exercise control? I don't understand. It's not like I passed by McDonald's, I'm like, I gotta go run into the I can't stop. I caught a waft of that, which smells terrible, right? But I caught a waft. I gotta. I don't know. I'm like an animal. Like I'm able to resist temptation. So why is it that like there are certain things inside of me that when the opportunity presents itself, it's almost like I just become powerless. The Rebbe says, we all have that. We'll say every single one of us has it. The only shaila is, what is your area of weakness? Right? But we all have our area of weakness. The Piacezna says, number one, name your demon. Number one, name your demon. And I will say, despise you. So let's go back to Shmiras Hayinayim. So let's be honest. The person struggles with looking at inappropriate things. So what's generally, again, the strategy for dealing with that? What's generally the strategy? I'm sorry? No, don't do that. Right? What's the strategy? Filters, avoid it. All right, you're all tzaddikim. Right? The strategy is justifying, I didn't do anything. Right? I was just looking, right? I didn't, Baruch Hashem, no maisa, right? No, there was no aveira, there was no this. It was just, again, and by the way, I'll say that's what the Gemara already says, that this is not new. This is not new. So I justify it. And generally, when most of us have been living with the same weaknesses for decades, right? It's rare that a person stumbles upon a brand new Aveira that they never did before. Like, wow, right? New worlds have opened up over here. I never knew about this Aveira before, right? This is great. Right? No, generally, that's not how it happens. I would, again, I'm assuming we're all in the same boat. But at least I know that for me, comes Rosh Hashanah, comes Elul, generally, 99% of the time, I'm doing tshuva for the same Averos. It's rare, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I have to get out more, but it's rare that I have new Averos. Rare that I have new Averos. The truth is, it's pretty much the same grouping. It's the same chevra. Right? I've been with the same chevra for many, many years, right? Same chevra. Some years are a little bit better, some years are a little bit worse, sometimes I'm more acute, but it's interesting, right? It's the same Averos. So deep down, if I'm honest with myself, so why is that? Why am I struggling with the same stuff year after year after year and not making real headway? The Piacezna would say, if I'm honest with myself, it's because I haven't repudiated it as my enemy. See, I'm justifying, I'm allowing, right? I'm turning a blind eye. So because of that Yetzer Hara resides inside of me and it's not going anywhere. The Piacezna says, you want to expunge the Yetzer Hara, or you want to expunge the proclivity for a particular sin from inside of you, you have to view it as your sworn enemy. It's your sworn enemy. And I will say, what happens with your sworn enemy? I don't talk to him. I don't look at him. I don't deal with him. I don't invite him to my house. He doesn't invite me to his house. Again, don't have any relations like this with actual Jews. But Lamaisa says the Piacezna, view your Yetzer Hara like your sworn enemy. And if you view him like your sworn enemy, then by definition, there's going to be a distance that occurs. He goes on, Lo ratzon shelo li'avalo bilvad ta'ara b'karbecha rak gam sina elav al sherotza li'abdecha mibeis ha'olamos. So it's like, you ever have this sometimes after you commit an Aveira, right? I commit an Aveira, and of course, I committed the Aveira because it felt good. And let's say it's an interesting thing, right? Then very often after one commits the Aveira, how do you feel? Right? Disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not. What am I disgusted at? I'm disgusted at myself. Like, I'm disgusted that I allowed, because at the end of the day, the buck of my life stops with me. I'm disgusted that I allowed this to happen. And I'm disgusted that this type of desire lives inside of me. And I'm disgusted that it's a part of my life. And I'm disgusted that I've allowed this Yetzer to go ahead. And Piacezna says that feeling of disgust is important. Now, the danger is, what's the danger? We'll say, what's the danger? Right, you can't wallow in it. Right? And this is why words like this is a very dangerous paragraph that we have to really, because what ends up happening is, and it's Maisim B'chol Yom, which is tragic, people become disgusted and they remain disgusted with themselves. Right? And at a certain point, disgust turns into Yesh. Right? And once there's Yesh, once there's Yesh, that's it. Then I'm done. Then really there's no hope. So there's this fine line that Piacezna says where, number one, name the demon. What is your Yetzer? Number two, identify it as an enemy. as an enemy. I got it. Maybe I can't get rid of the enemy right now, but I'm disgusted by the enemy that lives inside of me. I'm disgusted by it. He goes on, he says, why? He says, Rakam sina ilav al shirotzela abducha mibeis halamos. Because what does this Yetzer want to do? This Yetzer wants to rob me of two worlds. I'll say, Chet ruins my life in this world, and it ruins my life in the world to come. It ruins my life in this world because again, a feeling Yid, a feeling Jew, after he commits the Aveira, so how much pleasure does a person get? Whatever amount of pleasure you get, once that pleasure is over, the disgust is so intense that I don't even enjoy I don't even enjoy the sin after the fact. Right, the disgust is often so intense that even afterwards, I don't even enjoy it. At least, sometimes a person commits an aveira, and maybe before they're in the Piacezna, every once in a while you fantasize back to aveiras that you did. You're like, Chadesh Amenu Kikadem. I remember when. But sometimes I will say the types of aveiras that we get involved in, like when I think about it, it just disgusts me more. I to the point that I don't want to think about it. Like I don't want to deal with it. Piacezna says, understand that chid is trying to destroy you from two worlds. V'kas godol alav al shemetashtish es daitcha v'libcha, and get angry at your yetzer because ultimately again it corrupts your heart and it corrupts your intellect. V'rak az yakel l'chovsho. Only once you are disgusted by your yetzer hara do you have the ability to conquer it. Which I will say makes sense, right? Because if I'm not disgusted by it, then what? Then it becomes like that annoying family member. Everyone has one, right? I'll say, what do you do with the annoying family member? What do you do with him or her? What do you tolerate them? That's exactly, you tolerate them, right? So it's the annoying family member who's there who, like, I'm not going to sit down and like just one-on-one and schmooze with you, but we'll nod, we'll say hello, pleasantries, and it's fine. I know he's going to be at every single family. Yeah, I just had family Shavuot bracha, so this is like close to my heart a little bit. Right? So he's going to be there, right? He's going to be there all the time. So okay, I'm going to deal with him. Again, I'm not getting him out of the family. I'm not asking anyone not to disinvite him. So I'm living with this. The Piacezna says, if you don't despise your Yetzer Hara, you'll just live with him the rest of your life. That's it. He'll be there. He'll be a fixture. V'rak az yakel l'chavsho. So only if you despise it, right? If you despise something, that says, I can't live with this. I can't live with this. This can't be a part of my life. Only if you despise it do you have the ability ultimately to conquer it. The olam yargiz adam yetzer tova yetzer hara rogez v'kas. As the Gemara Maseches Brachos says, a person should always go ahead and literally get his yetzer tov angry over his yetzer hara. Anger, we'll say. And by the way, what is the Piacezna Chalim? We'll say. You know what the Rambam brings down? The Rambam says, in general, Hilchos Deos. You're always supposed to find like the middle ground between every single midah. There's one midah that Rambam says a person is not supposed to have any of, no shemetz of, which is kas, anger. It's interesting. I saw this before. The Rambam says, what happens if a person says, I have a very bad temper? So what do you do if you're a real Baal Kas? What does the Rambam say? Again, profound piece of Maimonidean wisdom. Stop getting angry. Stop getting angry. Just stop it. Right? Stop getting angry, the Rambam says. Incredible. We'll say, in other words, I control. Yet, interestingly enough, there's one time Chazal said, you're supposed to get angry. When are you supposed to get angry? When it comes to your Yetzer Hara. Get angry at your Yetzer Hara. Get angry at it. I'm angry at, and really I'm angry at myself, but I'm calling it angry at my Yetzer Hara, that I do this kind of stuff. That I engage in this kind of behavior, that I do these things year in and year out, or day in and I'm angry. Don't give yourself a pass. Right? Don't say, it's human nature. Be angry. Be disgusted. Because the problem is, if I give myself a pass and just, no, I'm trying, what am I supposed to do? This is my weakness, this is my frailty, then it's the annoying relative who's going to be at every single family simcha, and he's going to be with you the rest of your life. But if you hate it, and if you repudiate it, and you despise it, then it's something I can no longer live with. If it's something I can't live with, then that is the beginning of creating a strategy to overcome it and to conquer it. I will say a profound idea. Now, I just want to point out the warning over here with this, as I think this Rosh the Piacezna will create a tremendous amount of personal discomfort. Right? Because the Piacezna telling me essentially to identify my Yetzer Hara, and literally, again, to feel a sense of disgust, which means that there's going to be a point in time where I feel an element of disgust about myself. And that is not a comfortable space to live in. But you have to go through that discomfort if you want ultimately to eradicate it. Otherwise, get ready for a lifetime with the Yetzer Hara. Let's say so the avoda from section Tzav is number 1, personal inventory. What is my Yetzer Hara? And I will say, by the way, so just going back to today's daf, it's not a contradiction to the Gemara. Today we spoke about the idea that the Yetzer Hara is your best friend. Right? Why is the Yetzer Hara your best friend? Because the Yetzer Hara is the very catalyst for growth. It's not a contradiction. Right? He's my best friend. Because without the Yetzer Hara, there's no growth. The problem just is, Yetzer Hara serves its growth purpose for a certain amount of time, and then exit stage. Then it's time to get rid of him, right? So keep him along as long as I need to in order to go out and grow, to self-actualize. And then again, when I've gotten what I need to get out of this nisayon, time to get him out of my life. So avoda number 1 for tonight is number 1, personal inventory. What are my Yetzer Haras? And I will say, we're not talking about talk about the big things. All of us, I think, I think I always project onto the crowd. I just kind of assume that we're all in the same boat with these kinds of things, which is, generally we have 2 different groupings of averas in our lives, right? The small things, that not that any avera is insignificant, but the smaller things, I don't know, I know that when I come out of the bathroom, I should stop and say Asher Yatzar with Kavana. Okay, so, but you know what, I'm often saying Asher Yatzar on the run. Okay, I know it's not good. And again, I don't even know if you'd call that an Avera, but there's that category of stuff where I'm underperforming. I know that I'm not good. And then there's bigger stuff, which is mamish Averas. Real Averas that compromise the integrity and quality of my spiritual character. Create that inventory. And I will say, and then you know what you do after a piece of paper, you go through it and you say, Yetzer Hara, for looking at inappropriate things, I hate you. I know it sounds strange to say those words for a yid to say, I hate. Right? Even Amalek, right? Even Amalek, there's no obligation to hate Amalek. Right? There's just an obligation to wipe them out. Which is interesting. Right? But yet the Piacezna says you have to say, Yetzer Hara, right? I look at it, I hate you. Yetzer Hara for Lashon Hara, I hate you. I despise you. When I do that, what I'm showing is I'm repudiating it. It's not, I don't want it to be part of me. Once I don't want it to be part of me, then ultimately I have a greater probability of being able to conquer it, subdue it, and overcome it. Incredible. Section Yud Zayin. I will say, this is a ridiculous piece. Look at it right. Yud Zayin. I will say, get ready for this. Get ready. This, and again, what I love about Tzav V'Zeirus so much is that it's so personal. So look what he writes. Pachad nafal alai esmol b'shalosh seudos. Piacezna says, it was shalashudis. Thank you. It was shalashudis, and a terrible fright came over me. It happens often in shalashudis. Didn't I see that egg salad last week? Right? I was positive that is the same exact sheet cake. I was positive. Right? Okay, not that kind of pachad, not that kind of recycling pachad. Right? So now listen to this. He says, pachad nafa alai esal v'shalashudis kishalam hashanti. Piacezna says, by the way, I think it's also interesting. It tells us Shalashos. Do you remember again in Bnei Machshava Tova? Do you remember Bnei Machshava Tova? How the Piacezna described Shalashos? Do you remember this? The chariots. With the egg salad. The chariot. That Shalashos is a time where if you open your heart and you open your eyes, you can literally feel the Shechina coming down on his chariot, right? To be with Klal Yisrael, you can feel that. So it's not, that's why that's the beauty of learning multiple works by the same author. You see thematic threads. So it's not actually, Piacezna says, I was having a moment of dvekus by Shalashudis, and the following thought gripped me. Listen to what he writes. Ma haya b'imchas v'shalom higia kitziato. The Rebbe says, what thought gripped my mind? And again, I will say, it scared me. What gripped my mind? What if I would die today? What if I would have to leave the world today? He says, HaMishnah Omeres v'shuv yom echad lifnei misascha. The Mishnah says, do tshuva one day before you die. I will say now, of course, we know the problem with that. The problem with that statement is, who knows when you're going to die? And again, obviously, that was the point. The point that Chazal were trying to make is live your life in a constant state of tshuva, so that whenever HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes you, you are ready to go. You are ready to go. So the Gemara says, Piacezna says, he says, Rak Loshuv. Now I will say, this is actually fascinating. In general, when we speak about this idea of do tshuva, right? Shuv yom echad lefnei misascha. So we translate as do tshuva one day before you die. Now, the concept of tshuva, the definition of tshuva, is subject to debate. What exactly is tshuva? Look how the Piacezna describes it. He says it means rak loshuv. It means literally to simply return. What does that mean? Shelo la'asos ra, v'lo lachshov ra, al yedei shemiskaber al atzmo. The Piacezna said what Chazal are trying to teach us is my goal is to get myself to a level where I am not doing anything evil and I'm not thinking evil or impure thoughts. So if you notice, by the way the Piacezna understands it over here, he doesn't understand tshuva in this context as a retrospective process, but rather he sees it ultimately again as a present and prospective process. That shuv yom, which by the way is just such a fascinating definition, right? Because we're so often focused on the model of tshuva as a repairing and a repenting for the past. Piacezna says shuv yom echa lifnei misascha means that before you leave this world, I need to get myself into a state of where behaviorally I'm not sinning, and cognitively I'm not thinking about sin. That's my goal. Can you imagine having a day like that? One day, where I don't sin and I don't think about Averis. Maybe some of you, I've never had a day like that even Yom Kippur. Right? A long nap, right? Maybe if you take a 24-hour nap, you're not going. All right, so listen to what he writes. He says, Al Yidish Miskar Al Atzmo. Efshar. So the Piacezna says, so again, we'll say, just understand the context. So I'm at Shalashudah, says the Piacezna, and a tremendous fear gripped me that what's going to happen, I'm going to leave this world. What if I were to leave this world right in this moment? And the problem is, the Chazal tell us that you have to do tshuva before you die, that when you leave this world, you need to be in a state where you've at least been able to create enough self-restraint so that I'm not behaviorally sinning, and I'm not cognitively or emotionally thinking about or desiring of sin as well. He says, Efshar b'chol yom af b'dimei chayai ulai yamos lemachar. So Piacezna says, what's the problem? The problem is like this. I could die any day. Right? We will say, again, it's so important. We don't like to talk this way. But it is so incredibly important to go ahead and recognize that life could come to an end at any moment. My wife and I always have this argument. I've tried many times to tell her what my wishes are. Should I leave this world? And she gets very, very upset at me when I say this. Very, very upset. And I say, I don't understand. Right? We all acknowledge that death comes. We all acknowledge that we're not afraid of death because there's an olam haba. We also all acknowledge that at the end of the day, we do not know how much time we have in this world. So we're going to ignore the fact that there's a thing called death, and that it could come any day. We're going to ignore it, and if we pretend it away, then what? Certainly again, no death for me. Right? No death for me. We didn't talk about it. We never thought about it. We never discussed it. So it's for sure not going to happen. For sure not going to happen. So I'll say the Piacezna says a yid has to live with the constant reality of death, not in a morose way. We'll say this goes by the way to the same Gemara also. The same way that the Yitzhar is my best friend, the Malach HaMavis is also my best friend. Right? Why is the Malach HaMavis my best friend? Because death is the greatest gift that God gave to humanity. Because death is the catalyst for self-actualization, personalistic change, and comprehensive and cathartic growth. Without death, you could simply trudge along for century after century after century and move nowhere in life. The notion that my life is going to come to an end, right, is the greatest gift in the world because it energizes me to hopefully maximize each and every day. So the Piacezna says, the challenge, again, Shalashuddis, I'm in the middle of Zmiris, and what grips me? Oh my gosh, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes me now, I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to go. Chazal said you're supposed to do tshuva one day before you die, and a basic tshuva. That be in a state where you're not behaviorally sinning and not thinking about sin. The Piacezna says, I'm not there yet. Forget about the past. I'm not there in my present.
Is that what Shlomo HaMelech would refer to as Dom Yom Amavet B'Yom Yiladah?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a Toya 100%. That's why, again, that's literally today's daf, that the Malach HaMavas, like the Yitzhahara, no one likes them, but yet they are beloved by everyone. So the Piacezna goes on, he says, Ula Yom Eslamachar, Aval Atakin Es Atzma B'chol Yom Sheve Emes Tetar Nefesh, Mibli Choli V'Kesem, Kimo Sheodeh V'Rotzani, Efshar Kol Kach B'Naka. So this is incredible. Piacezna says, death could come easily and swiftly. Tshuva is much more complicated. So we have this interesting imbalance between, on one hand, preparing myself for death, and I must say again, these things sound morose, but they're not morose. They're not morose. We just, in general, we don't like to be uncomfortable, so therefore we don't like uncomfortable topics, and death is an uncomfortable topic, but it doesn't have to be. If a person believes in Olam Haba, death is only uncomfortable. I will say, let's be honest, right, amongst Chaverim. When is death an uncomfortable discussion? Right? When you don't talk about it, so when else? When I'm not really ready to face it. And when am I not ready to face it? When I know that my life is not in order. People whose lives are in order are not afraid of death. Conversely, people whose lives are in shambles, whether that's spiritual shambles, relationship shambles, marriage shambles, children shambles, whatever it might be, death is the scariest thing in the world. Because then I run the risk of leaving this world with so much unfinished business. People who have their lives in order don't have to be afraid of death, because the avodah is done. Obviously, no one wants to die. Everyone wants to be in this world as long as we can. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in this world to accomplish great things. I'm in no rush to leave. It's great here. It's beautiful here. There's so much incredible things. But Lamaisa comes. So the Piacezna says, death could come so quickly, so easily, but yet I'm not prepared. This book, Ripkin, this is the Piacezna, our Rebbe. Hey, middle of Shalosh Shudis. They're singing Mizmor LeDavid, and the Piacezna is like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready to leave. My work is not done. I'm not in my state of tshuva, but yet death could come at any moment. He goes on, he says, Ukashani male barayonai. Piacezna is going to begin to think to myself, Ma haya be'im hutzrachti leheiraos ba'olam hakdush lifnei Hashem b'kismei nafshi. Piacezna says, I begin to think to myself, what would happen if I left this world today and I was summoned to appear before God with all of the stains on my soul? The wording is very profound. With all of the stains on my soul. Pachad v'ashevet yochzin. The Piacezna says, I was shaken to my core with fear. With fear. What would happen if today I had to come and face the Shekhinah with all of the stains on my neshama? Mamish shelo yaresi kol kach mipnei hamaves. Look what he writes. Piacezna says, I realized I'm not scared of death. He says, kol mipnei hamaves v'lo da'akti kol kach harbe al choser yomim chas v'shalom kimo min ri'iyah hazos. Piacezna says, I'm not scared of death, and I'm not even scared ultimately again of maybe not growing old. We'll see, these are also very, very very prophetic words of the Piacezna, who died, who was murdered young. So I'm not afraid of death, and I'm not even afraid of dying young. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid I'm afraid of going before the Shekhinah with a stained soul. With a stained soul.
But do you ever really reach a point where you can say, I'm ready?
So I think that's why the Piacezna redefines what tshuva is. I think that's why he's doing over here. He's creating, which is fascinating, just creating a new model of tshuva, where what is it, or in this context, when are you ready? When are you ready to leave this world? When you have a day in which you did not sin and did not think about sin, that's my goal. That's my goal. If I could reach to that level, then I'm ready. Now, I don't think Chas Shalom means that then HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes me in that moment, but that represents a stage of readiness. It's a reframing, right? Because we often think that when am I ready to leave this world? When I accomplish every single thing I'm supposed to accomplish. But it's interesting because that's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, when are you ready to leave this world? Once you've done tshuva. Shuv yom echad lifnei misascha. Says the Piacezna. So what's tshuva? Tshuva is the ability to exercise self-restraint, both in behavior and in cognition. When you can reach that level, you have that level of mastery over yourself in behavior and in cognition, you're ready.
But tshuva, meaning tshuva, I don't want to get too philosophical, like in the philosophical debate, but tshuva requires you to have a yetzer hara, which is telling you to go this way, and I'm pulling you this way, right? So it's always there, meaning like the want and the desire is always going to be there. It's meaning it's my ability to rein it in. So
Correct.
It's not meaning that's always there. So you're never going to have a day where you're not thinking of doing that, or you're not living
So I think
in that gray area.
I think the Piacezna would argue on that. The Piacezna says there is a day where there is a point where a person can maintain control over their thoughts.
That's not life then. Meaning life requires you to struggle one way or another, right? I mean, you're either moving up or you're moving down, right? I mean, you have to have a point of struggle to be living. Right?
So, but remember, I don't think he's saying over here that Lamaisa you sustain this. I think the goal is to get to this level. It could very well be the moment after you get to this level, you're going to come back down and start struggling again. I think what the Piacezna is saying is...
But you never really reached it then.
You did reach it.
Meaning we say it's a momentary, like...
Yeah. That's the beauty of Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit, in other words, if we held like you, we'd be in incredible trouble. Because what that would mean is... No, because what you're saying is, if you reach a level, but then you backslide, you never really reach the level.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're always... Meaning your growth comes from struggle. If you never have a point of struggle, there is no growth. Zero. What makes us human is our ability to fall, pick ourselves back up, and move on. Right? That's what makes us human. But if we reach a level where we're not even thinking of sin, then you're a malach.
So,
like you're not even...
so good. So I think so. Let me clarify what I think the Piacezna means. I think you reach that level, lav dafka, you perpetuate that level. That's not necessarily sustainable. But what's my goal? In other words, to me, I'll tell you what I find the beauty in this is. Don't we often wonder, like, what is our goal in this world? Like, what's the metric of success? The Piacezna says, if you can get to a day where you exercise control over your behaviors and your thoughts for one day, success. Tomorrow I'm a train wreck. Right? Tomorrow I'm an absolute train wreck. Okay, you're right. That's human nature. But the goal ultimately is to. And by the way, let's say that's the connection between Tes Zayin and Gid Zayin. Because what did he say in Tes Zayin? Tes Zayin he's saying is repudiate and hate and despise your Yetzer Hara. Why? Because if you could do that, you could own it. If you could own it, then ultimately, again, you could rein it in. And if you could rein it in, then you could get yourself to the level of control, self-control of behavior and thought, even if just for a day. Even if just for a day. Because we'll say, you know what happens? If you could have a day like that, we'll say, what happens after you have a day of control over your behavior and your thoughts? What happens? What happens? You're like, no idea, because you've never gotten there. I have no idea. No, I think what happens is that I relax a little bit. I'm going to Disneyland, right? You know, like I think we'll say what happens is once I show myself that I can do that, then I want that again. See, once I have that day of complete self-control, and I know how I felt on that day, and I know who I was on that day, like I want that. I want that. That's what I desire. I don't want to go back to old me. I like this new me. Will I be able to hold on to it every day? No. That is the nature of the human condition. But the goal, see, I think what the Piacezna is saying is like this. Maybe today is my last. Maybe tomorrow is my last day in the world. Maybe. Okay. So because that is, I have to work on myself to get to this level of mastery over behavior and thought. So every day starts with the same goal. This may be my last day in this world. I don't want to go before HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a stained neshama because that keeps me up at night. And therefore, again, I'm going to try to make this a day of sustained or controlled behavior and thoughts. It could be 9 out of 10 days I fail. All right, I don't reach that level. But that 10th day that I get it, tremendous accomplishments. And I'm going to fulfill the dictate of Chazal. And I've also shown myself that I could do it.
But if we hit that day, we don't want that to be our last day.
I don't want it to be my last day, 100%. And by the way, I would think even more. You see, once you hit that day also, that's probably a day of the most incredible and impactful living. Like it's almost as if like that's probably going to be your best day in Olam Hazeh. So of course, I don't want. No one wants to die. I want to be clear. I'm not a person who's depressed or things like that. Rahman al-Islam. I mean, even when I get that day, it's not like okay, take me now. Like I got it. No, chas v'shalom. But the Piacezna says it's almost like leveraging your risk a little bit. Like I recognize that life could come to an end at any point in time. It's like lahavdil. It's like life insurance. It's like life insurance, right? So the truth is, I don't want my family to have to use it, but at the same time, I recognize I have to be prepared for every eventuality. So on a spiritual level, I don't want to leave this world one day before 120. But I don't know what's going to happen, and therefore, again, I need to make sure that this is a day of restraint in behavior and restraint in thought.
But if we care about Olam Haba, we still don't want that to be the last day. If we don't think we can hit that day again.
I don't want it. Life is all about things that I don't want to happen, but I have to be prepared if they do happen.
But if you view it as Olam Haba is more than Olam Hazeh, and you know how hard it is to get that day, don't you want that day to be the day?
I don't know, man. I still think we're human beings, right? And at the end of the day, I don't want to leave this world. In other words, I believe that Olam Haba is 1,000,000 times better in this world. I don't want to leave this world one day before 120.
But it also means we don't reach that level then that day because you're not reaching that level.
I don't know, or maybe that's not the expectation Hakadosh Baruch Hu has of us. In other words, to get to you're describing like a really high level where a person like actively says, "Okay, I reached this dag in Olam Hazeh. This is great. Take me now." I don't know. I don't know that there's any level of that. I hear it. Like I hear what you're saying theologically. I just don't know that people actually think that way, even tzaddikim, right? Because even like the Piacezna himself is not saying I'm ready to go to Olam Haba. He's just scared that if I'm taken today, I'm not ready for it. I think. All right, so you know what he says? Okay, so you know what? We'll stop over here for tonight. Let's just finish. Let's finish quickly. Page 11, very quickly. Avalama b'chisi v'yarisi kol kach le'eros dafka l'fanav yispar sham ba'olam ha'elyon b'kismei nafshi. So the Piacezna says, then I realized something interesting. I'm so scared about seeing the Ribono Shel Olam after 100, when I leave this world in Olam Haba. I'm so scared that I'm going to come before him with a stained neshama. And then I realize, oh my gosh, if I'm so scared about appearing before him with a stained neshama in the world to come, then why am I not as concerned about appearing before him with a stained neshama in this world? Right? In other words, that the embarrassment that I'm concerned about coming before HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Olam HaEmes, or the stained neshama, he says, Dafka ba'olam hazeh, ba'olam ha'elyon, b'kisei nafshi, v'lo ira leharos l'fanav yisparach gam ata, b'yosi o ba'olam hazeh. Why shouldn't I have that same fear with appearing before HaKadosh Baruch Hu with the stained neshama in this world? Umi yodea, im lo ba'at Hashem kvar b'nafshi l'kisameh. So we'll say the Piacezna is writing very, very heavy over here. Very heavy. He says over here, maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given up on me. Maybe Hashem sees how stained my neshama is in this world, and He's already given up on me. So we'll say, so what's interesting to note just the progression of thought over here, and all during Shalosh Chodesh, is that the Rebbe is saying, this fear gripped me that I'm not ready to leave this world, yet I may be forced to leave this world in any given moment. Why am I so scared to leave this world? Because I recognize my neshama is stained, and I'm scared to go before HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a stained neshama. Then the thought process evolved. If I'm scared to go before HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a stained neshama in the world to come, then how could I not be scared to live before HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a stained neshama in this worli? He says, Ein li eitzah rak lizok el hamelech. So the Piacezna said, I became so overwhelmed that I realized there's only one thing to do: to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, Hatzileni mitit va'al et ba'a chas v'shalom. Literally, again, save me like from the quicksand, save me from the mortar, and don't allow me to drown in this world. So and I think this goes back really to what you were saying as well. I think the Piacezna said, I realized that I overwhelmed myself. Because this is like a lot. To get to that day where you have complete mastery over your thoughts and over your behaviors, and then again, because I don't want to go before HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a stained neshama, but yet I have a stained neshama by virtue of the fact that I make mistakes in life, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that stained neshama every day. HaKadosh Baruch Hu also sees about say that what the reality is, the sad reality is I walk around with a stained neshama, and what? I don't try to do anything. It's, like Lahavdil also, how like when you're at Shabbos lunch and you get something on your shirt, so what's the cheshbon? What's the cheshbon? You get a little child on your shirt, so what's the cheshbon? Right? What's the first thing you think about? Right? So the first thing...
Can I get through Shabbos with that stain?
Can I get... Right, that's it. That's it. No, that's it, okay?
With a jacket cover.
Let's get into crisis mode over here, right? How can we work this through, right? So there's a whole bunch of things, right? Will my jacket cover this, right? Can I wear my tie at a little bit of an angle, right? Maybe a sweater. Maybe just keep my arms folded for the duration of Shabbos, right? I'll say, it's an incredible metaphor for life, because what the Piacezna is saying is, I have these stains on my neshama, and I do anything and everything to mask them, and I do anything and everything but try to fix them. And that's an overwhelming reality, to live with a stained neshama. So the Piacezna says, I've overwhelmed myself by all of this, and I recognize that the only thing I could possibly do is call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to help me. Ribono Shel Olam, don't give up on me. Don't throw in the towel on me. Help me from drowning in this world. And Rabbi said this is the connection ultimately again between Tezayin and Yizayin. Because in Tezayin the Piacezna says, identify personal inventory. What are my Yetzaharas? Then after you identify them, despise them. Hate them. The mamish should be like a constant anger towards them. Then in Yud Zayin the Piacezna says there's a recognition. I don't want to leave this world with a stained neshama, and I don't want to live in this world with a stained neshama. I want to erase the stains. I want to live in a state of tshuva. What does it mean to live in a state of tshuva? To be able to get to the level, even just for one day, even just for 1 hour, where I have complete control over my actions and my thoughts. That's what I'm aspiring to. But the only way to get to that is to clean the stains off my neshama. And the only way to clean the stains off my neshama is Tezayin, is to identify the Yetzer Hara, to repudiate him, to despise him, to be angry at him, to say, I'm no longer living with you. I'm no longer coexisting with you. I'm expunging you from my life. I'm doing what I have to do to get rid of the stains so that I can feel comfortable coming before the Ribono Shel Olam. Right, have a night tonight. Have a night tonight, everyone. Ma'ariv in the main shul.